To go to the work of the committee then, in terms of the amount of correspondence that we receive in, which generally peaks after a meeting like this, correspondence to members, correspondence to me as chairman, and correspondence to the clerk. I was trying to devise or find a way of dealing with the queries that would arise. And I have to say, it is with great disappointment that I have to report that there hasn't been one single response from your bank. On the 19th of June 17, I sent a batch of those type of letters to the bank. I got no reply. In July, I sent a reminder. I got no reply. The 23rd of August 2017, I wrote. I got no reply. Not even an acknowledgement. And these letters were sent by email, and they were also sent by hard copy to Mr. Boucher. Now, I don't want an answer in terms of the specific of each individual case, but at least I would have thought of good manners from the bank to acknowledge the specific letters. Because if someone, not necessarily from my constituency, they were from all over the country, takes to the bother of expressing their frustration, their anger, or even outlining their difficulty with the bank, to draw your attention to their difficulties. If they go to the bother of writing, somebody should write back to them. And when you didn't write back, based on the fact that I had written and sent the various reminders, I think it's quite bad manners, actually, not to do that.
Yeah, Deputy, I will absolutely undertake to follow that up and make sure that any queries you had are responded to.
I'm not asking for individuals' particulars, but they were good enough to bring their case to the attention of the committee.
Absolutely.
And out of respect for them and the committee, I would expect an acknowledgement back to those.
100% agree with you. We have a process in place, and I will make sure to follow that up for you.
Which then brings me to the various figures about the properties. I just want to understand them. Sorry, about the trackers. You've identified a further 602, is that correct, that were wrongfully denied of?
There were 602 customers that were entitled to a tracker and didn't get a tracker, and there were.
When did you identify those?
They were identified as part of the Section 2 examination in September 2016.
This is Phase 2 that you're talking about, is it?
Yes.
Is that Phase 2 completed?
Well, our report was submitted to the Central Bank in the 30th of September. There are some issues that are under discussion with the Central Bank today, but we submitted the report, and there are the customers that were aware of the 602 and the 3,900, where there was an operational error of.
But just that 602. The 602 is part of a report sent to the Central Bank as the Phase 2 completion. So is Phase 2 completed, with the exception of the Central Bank coming back to you on the numbers?
From the Bank of Ireland's point of view, in terms of submitting the report, yes, that is submitted.
602. Then you mentioned 2010, there was 5,100 put back on trackers automatically, is it? You identify them?
There were 2,100 customers who were entitled to trackers and were put onto trackers. Yeah. And there was deemed to be approximately 3,000 who were put back on trackers at the end of their fixed period.
Then there's 3,900. This figure of 3,900. These are all separate figures, are they?
Yes.
So the 3,900 are affected. They were not given the right rate. And they're fixed, are they?
They have now been given the right rate, that's correct.
Okay. Then you gave the figure of 25 million as a cost to the Bank of Ireland, and you said that includes compensation.
For the 602 customers and for the compensation in relation to the 3,900. I did mention to Deputy McGrath that actually the cases in relation to 2010, because they were put back on the right rate back in 2010, as opposed to
there was no need for
there was no need for fair value adjustment for those customers.
So if you've established that the cost is 25 million, which includes compensation, how much of that 25 million is compensation and how much has been paid?
I don't have an exact number, Chairman, but I suspect you're looking at an 80-20 split in favour of one is value and 20%. So 80% is fair value. So it's the correct amount of difference in the interest rates is fair value, and
that's 80%.
That's 80%, and 20% is compensation.
So 20% is compensation. So you assess that, so you must know who's entitled to what compensation.
Well, what's been we've been having an engagement with the central bank to finalise those compensation terms.
How long have those terms been with the central bank?
Back and forth, I would have said. The discussions have been going on probably, I suspect, for 6 to 9 months.
Has anyone been paid?
All the customers have been put back on the right rates.
No, the compensation.
No compensation has been paid to date.
Because
as I said to Deputy
because it's
McGrath,
the fault of the central bank.
No. Does it?
Why haven't they paid?
Fault. Because we've been trying to agree the intricacies of the terms of those compensation arrangements.
You've been trying to
agree the terms of those.
With who?
We've been in discussion with the central bank.
Yes, so you have what you consider to be the terms of settlement, the terms of the compensation. You've established those for your bank.
And that has been quite recent. As I said, there's been discussions going on.
And so how long have the central bank, how long have they had the terms of your compensation? How long have they been pondering over?
Well, they haven't been pondering. To be fair to central bank, the negotiations have been back and forth for I would have said 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, I understand that. Why are they not being paid then? Is there a problem with how you view it and how the central bank views it?
The remedy and compensation arrangements are, I would have said, they're nearly finalised. In fact, they're with the bank itself for final approval, because actually they're not approved ultimately by the central bank, they're approved by the bank itself. I would have said, as I said to Deputy McGrath earlier, is my expectation is they'll be paid in the next number of months, and hopefully all paid before Christmas.
But what would have gone on between you and the central bank in relation to this compensation that caused it to be delayed for this length of time?
The compensation arrangements include appeal procedures, for example, and in terms of if a customer, when they ultimately get compensation, they disagree with the determination. There's been a process to agree what the appeal process would look like, what independent people would sit on that appeal process. They've got to be vetted. So there's a number of ranges that need to be addressed, and they've been substantially addressed at this stage.
But addressed by the Bank of Ireland?
Yes.
Not the central bank?
So central bank have an oversight role to play in this.
So you've put your proposal to them?
And
have they come back to you as yet and said, okay,
yes,
go ahead, lads?
They most certainly have, yes.
When did they come back to you?
So, as I said, this negotiation has been going on probably for 6 to 9 months.
I understand that, but when did they come back to you to say that it was okay to pay the compensation?
Central Bank have made it clear to us actually is the compensation is a matter for approval by the board. They've given us their input. We've taken on board their input, and the bank is going through an approval process, I'd say, this month, and we will pay it.
But how long have you waited since the central bank told you that before putting it to your board? How long have you waited?
As I said to you, Chairman, it has been a process of negotiation.
And I understand all of that. But at some point in time, the central bank would have said, yeah, that's okay. Then you would have said, grand, we'll take that to our board of directors and have it approved. When did that happen? When did the central bank sign off on what you need to do next?
Their role is now one of approval, but in terms of the latest engagement in relation to it, it came on the 13th of September, so I think that was last Wednesday or Thursday. I spoke to my board, the board of Bank of Ireland Mortgage Bank, on Monday of this week, and we spoke to the group board on Tuesday. So, as I said to you, it will be this month.
So, as you said to Deputy McGrath, they'll be paid within the next weeks.
We will be starting the process in the next couple of weeks. I would say the next 2-3 weeks, and my hope and expectation is that all the payments will be made by Christmas.
Okay, so one of the questions that was asked of the committee was when would the money be refunded? You've answered that. customers haven't been provided with an update since February 2017.
There has been a number of communications with the customer to say how they've been correct in terms of going back on the correct rate. What hasn't been told to the customer yet, and what will now be told, as I said to you, in the next couple of months, is what is that compensation, and the payment of that compensation will happen between now and Christmas.
So it's between now and Christmas. It's not a matter of weeks.
Well, sorry,
it's that length of time.
There
you
is-
agree with each individual customer?
Yes, there's 602. There's 602 customers and 3,900 to be addressed. The process, I can be very happy, will kick off over the next couple of weeks. I hope, as I said, to be done by Christmas. It is our interest to expedite it as quick as possible now that we're at the final stages of it,
Okay.
and we will progress that.
In relation to the bank staff,